Hello, ladies and gentlemen, Deja Vu here with Vorosh in this tied series in the MSL between Zero and Calm. Two great ZVZers going at it 1-1, neither game going as predicted, each player getting a build order advantage and each player losing that game. So it's just one of those series where things just aren't quite as they seem. So it comes down to a whole lot more than just the build order we're finding out in this series. We're going to get it started. This is going to be on Monte Cristo. Calm and Teal accept. So Calm is in teal at the bottom right and Zero in brown? Yeah, Zero and brown in the top left. So this has been a great series so far, and you know, nothing points to it being anything but from here on out. So I am very, very excited. This should be a whole lot of fun.
Yeah, I'm actually surprised they didn't switch it to yellow versus red. It seems like 95% of every StarCraft game I've ever watched, especially in Zerg versus Zerg, has been yellow versus red. But it looks like we're going to have actually Calm and Teal, which is surprising to me. So this map's a two-player map with pretty long Zergling rush distances, so I think it's going to perhaps favor 12-hatch just a little bit, especially because you just have a choke that's not even very tight of a choke at your main and a ramp at your natural, although it is a very wide ramp. So we're not going to see like the arc around the ramp. You're going to have, there's no way you can cheat on Zerglings. You need a lot of Zerglings on this map, but I think an expansion is pretty necessary in ZVZ. I would actually expect both players to go for a 12-hatch, but that's probably not going to be the case. And I'm really excited that it's 1-1, speaking just from a how easy it is to speak English standpoint, because when Zero's in a series and it is 2-0, that gets confusing, man. So both players going for an Overlord first build. It looks like, yeah, I think it's going to be 12-hatch from both players. A drone already being sent out for Calm, although not for Zero. Is he going to go for a 12 pool again? If Zero goes for a 12 pool, I'm calling it right now. Zero takes the game. 12 pool counters 12 hatch. What are you doing? No, it looks like it's going to be a 12 hatch.
Yeah, don't worry. This time he did go 12 hatch. Last round of 16, Zero versus Hero, the games that I casted. Zero and Hero both on this map. I thought they would both 12 hatch. They both went 12 pool, and they both went so Zergling heavy. I was really kind of surprised at that they would do that, but I guess sometimes you got to change it up a little bit. And one of the interesting things that I really like about this map in terms of the Zerglings is that because you have those two distinct routes to go with Zerglings, you can really... What is that on her arm?
I don't know exactly what it is, but it's adorable.
That was so cute. Okay, sorry, I lost my train of thought because there was like some cute little gerbil thing wandering on her arm. That was kind of cool. Anyways, because you have the two distinct routes to take, you can actually try and sneak Zerglings by. We saw Zero tried to do that against Hero, but Hero was playing very, very defensively with his Zerglings. He just kept them basically at home, and Zero couldn't break through it all. But I'd be interested to see if one of these guys does the same kind of thing, tries to put pressure on both sides, and maybe tries to swing around and get a little backdoor action. That would be very, very cool. And I think one of them will try and be aggressive, go for something like that, and one of them will be forced to be more defensive.
Yeah, I think that animal, it might just have been a mole trap. I wish I'd come up with that earlier. I'm not that funny. But anyways, an interesting thing that I don't think you caught, because it was very, very subtle, Zero actually cheated a drone. He went 12 pool, 12 hatch, or I'm sorry, 12 hatch, 12 pool instead of 12 hatch, 11 pool. He just squeezed out one more drone to get just the tiniest bit of extra mining time, and it looks like it's not going to make a very big difference at all. It only delayed him like 8 seconds in terms of the pool timing, which isn't even close to the rush distance. So that is a very, very nice move by Zero. Just one of those little tiny things. And it looks like two Zerglings from Calm being a little adventurous. I don't think it'd be prudent. Oh wow, look, Zero's got no rally points. He's got the Zerglings in his main. They're just sitting in his main. He's not rallied that to the natural yet. I hope he doesn't lose track of those guys. He probably won't. Don't worry about it.
I think he actually had those back there because he knows with 4 Zerglings he can't actually block his entire thing, so maybe he was worried about some sort of run by. That's my guess. He might have even delayed speed, gone for layer first before speed, so you know, if Calm goes for speed, he needs to have those back there. But it looks like that's not really going to come into play. Both players getting their spires and playing pretty defensively, both of them. We got some adventurous Zerglings, as we're calling them here from Calm, but they're going to dart out and actually not even taking any damage, so that's that. And yeah, both players just macroing up, building up their Zergling forces, and we're going to have to see what happens as soon as the mutas pop. And usually right before the mutas start, we get one big Zergling fight, so I'm interested to see how it plays. If someone's able to sneak some Zerglings behind, this should be interesting in the next minute or so, as usually 9 times out of 10 in this situation we will have a Zergling fight pretty soon.
Yeah, it looks like Com has produced a couple more pairs of Zerglings than Zero. Zero's actually got a really nice economy going. He's got so much economy that he's got a drone mining minerals at his natural expansion. So he's got his main saturated, 1 per patch, and then 6 on gas, and even, I think both players actually have even an extra drone. So they both got some drones out. And look, here comes a Zergling battle, but, oh, that's kind of smart. Com didn't reveal all of his Zerglings, but Zero's actually produced a ton of Zerglings that I did not see. I think that's the first time we've had this many Zerglings on camera for Zero, and the mutas are under construction right now, so it looks like there actually might not be a battle before the mutas can pop out. Yeah, Zero's just falling back. He judged that he wouldn't have enough to break through that and do any damage before the mutas come out, so it looks like we're just going to have a muta fight. And I really like the situations where there are a lot of Zerglings left on the map when the mutas start to come out, because that makes for really very interesting play. How do you deal with, what can you do with Zerglings when you don't have, or when there's mutas in the air? What can you do with Zerglings?
Well, you scout. You try and get the Mutalisk moving where you want them to be, and then maybe try and catch them on the retreat, catch an Overlord, whatever you can get, really. And Zero right now has been using his to just scout out and try and gauge where the Mutalisks are, but he hasn't really been able to take advantage of it too much yet. Hasn't been able to pick off any Overlords or really gain an advantage, but he is keeping knowledge of where those Mutalisks are, which obviously in a ZVZ is so important. If you don't know where your opponent's Mutalisks are, you can lose a game in just seconds if it's on the other side of the map. It's pretty ugly. But both players with 12 hatches and all of this gas, all of this eco, are just building up huge clouds of Mutalisks. Look at how fast. We just started producing Mutalisks like 30 seconds ago, guys, and look at how dark those clouds are underneath those Mutalisks. So this should be very, very fun, and one or both of them are going to be going for an upgrade soon enough. As soon as they get hit about a control group, they usually start an upgrade, and then it gets very, very interesting as to who actually pulls it off first, whether it's armor or gas. And here comes Calm looking to get a little bit of aggressive here, and actually landing a bunch of Scourge. I'm not sure if they were cloned properly though. And here comes a fight as well. Zergling's coming in to come in with the Mutalisk, and Zero actually looks like he might be in a little bit of trouble here. A ton of Zerglings pouring into his base right now. He's having to use his Mutalisk to defend his drones, and it's hard to tell if he came away, how well he came away with this. It looks like a couple of drones did go down, but he did keep most of them alive, and some Zerglings getting into his main as well. So his natural expansion has gone down. No drones for Zero at his natural expansion. So he's gonna have to do some counter damage right here. He's in big trouble right now, very, very much behind by several drones, I think, unless he pulled them all back. Are those all pulled back? I don't believe so. I think he lost at least a couple, so he's kind of behind right now, and Calm with a nice attack there, able to get a bunch of drone kills.
Yeah, Calm was able to kill 3 drones with the Zerglings, and then when the Zerglings ran into the main and the mutas for Zero ran back into the main to defend, I think he got one more drone with the mutas, and I think he might have picked off a 5th drone with his Zerglings, although that was not on camera at the time, so we don't know, but definitely a huge advantage for Calm, and I could do like an entire Day 9 daily on the applications of Zerglings in a late game Zerg versus Zerg. Not like super late game, but mutas are out, Zerg versus Zerg. I think it's a really, really interesting dynamic, and one of the things you can do is if your opponent's thrown a lot away on scouting, on trying to do sneaky things, and you've got a big Zergling advantage, a Muta-Ling attack, if you've got a big Ling superiority, can be ultra effective. So right now, it looks like we've got 6 drones back on gas at or 3 drones back on gas at the natural expansion for Zero. So he's gonna be catching up on the muta production. Not catching up, but he's going to be producing at an equal rate now. But during that time that he didn't have drones mining, it looks like actually I think Com has an advantage of like 4 or 5 mutas as well as a ton of Scourge. This is actually looking not even close. It's going to be 2 full control groups. You can see that they're in 2 control groups now. So Com's got a ton of mutas, and I don't really see what's going for Zero in this game. He goes in with the Zergling and scouts that, and he sees that there's a full 11 group of mutas as well as one that's starting to look like a 7 or 8. So he's in dire straits right now. I don't even know what he's going to try. How do you try to get back in this game?
What Zero has going for him, and I think you missed it, is he's got +1 armor. He might be down a few mutalisks, but +1 armor can totally change it, because basically every +1 armor is stopping like 3 damage, because every time the Glaive Worm bounces it hits 3 times, right? And actually it looks like +1 weapons from Calm, but it really doesn't quite balance out. If I remember the math correctly, the +1 armor is significantly better than the +1 weapons. You know, it does help having +1 weapons to balance it out, but Zero is not that far behind, really. This should be a very, very close battle, and Zero trying to keep his Scourge in the back right now and try and bring them in later in this fight and trying to micro as well as he can. It looked like a bunch of Scourge landing, and Zero coming in with his Scourge, and actually looks like he landed a couple as well, but I think Zero actually earned himself a draw there in that fight. He did lose the 1 drone, but considering the position he was in, only losing the 1 drone is not a terrible spot for him to be. He still has that +1 armor, and I still maintain that it is far better than the +1 weapons, so he does still have that advantage. If the mutalists do fight, I think if they fought right now, just mutal on mutal, I'm pretty sure Zero would win this battle. So I don't think things are as grim for him as it might have looked right after that Zergling mutaling attacked, but definitely that attack was still good, but definitely Zero is not out of this by any means.
I wouldn't say he's out of this, but he is. I still would defend my position that he is at a pretty big disadvantage. The advantage that he gets for having plus. Did he just attack his own something? I don't know.
No.
I'm sorry about that. The advantage that you get for having +1 armor versus +1 attack is existent, but I don't think it makes up for the big muted disadvantage that he's at this game. But he has done a good job of recovering, and I think he's actually squeezed out 2 drones since that attack. His main's back to full saturation, and actually it looks like we've got equal drone count, so somehow, I guess Zero just managed to make more drones than Com was, even though Com, when he did that attack, he probably could have squeezed out a bunch of drones. He just continued powering mutas. So we are actually getting somewhat close to the point in the game where it goes into like the ultra late game, where the mains start to get mined out, and we actually see some more tech. And I'm wondering, I'm praying, I'm hoping that we see like a Queen's Nest thrown down. Because ensnares are really good against mutas, plagues are unbelievable against mutas, and devourers are also mixed in very good against mutas, getting a couple of acid spores on all the mutas. So that's what we see in like 1 out of every 250 Zerg versus Zergs, and I think it's a tiny possibility that we might be seeing it in this one. Oh, 1-1 is a...
Yeah, he's got 1-1. He is really going heavy on those upgrades, and I want him to go Queens because it's his namesake. He is the Queen of Blades, Zero. He can totally do it. And he's going in here for an attack, and it looks like he might try to engage. I want to see whether he's actually going to engage, and he is. He's actually going to engage. Scourge just landing for both players, and Zero actually could engage with the Scourge. There he goes. Oh, wow. Cloning his Scourge, I think, much better than Calm, actually, but I don't know if this is enough. I think you were right that there were just plain more Mutalists for Calm, and yeah, there's just more Mutalists for Calm. There were just more Mutalists, and actually, I think he actually might have cloned a little better than Zero. So, Calm winning that battle in like 2 seconds. That was like 10 minutes of build-up and a 2-second battle. I'm kind of shocked right now.
Yeah, that's unfortunate, but Calm was just building mutas non-stop, and Zero stopped production when he squeezed out some drones, and he stopped production when he was dealt damage, and he stopped production a little to squeeze out those upgrades. So very nice, just constant macro by Calm. Just what your solution to everything is just build mutas. Oh no, he's doing a bunch of stuff. I guess I better build more mutas. And then when it came down to it, he had like 20 more mutas, maybe 10.
You'd think the Brain Zerg would be a little bit more creative, but I guess just stick to your plan and it works. So Calm goes up 2 games to 1.